mess. We've been packing again, and I really wanted to start sharing videos coming up about our new adventure is the Shire Homestead. So, like right now, the house is kind of a mess because we've been packing and we got everything torn out, and so I'm not going to show much of that. I am actually sitting in the bed, and there was a glare on the headboard because it's like metal, so I put this goofy throw blanket over it, but and like I said, I'm a mess. But just to kind of catch you guys up and recap our way of thinking as the Bowen family moves forward into another adventure. So that's my dog rolling around in the bed having fun. So just to recap a little bit, we've had so many puppy. She's like really having fun. So Emily, sometimes we call her Celeste, so if that ever gets confusing, her name is Emily Celeste, and so sometimes she's called Emily, sometimes she's called Celeste, so just so you know, it's the same person, my daughter. So she's posted a bunch of older pictures that we never managed to get up on Facebook this morning, and looking at the pictures of our time in the woods, it's like filled with so much emotion. It's happy, it's sad, it was wonderful and fraught with all sorts of wild adventure and heartache and sickness and pain and all kinds of things. But when I look at the pictures, I feel so sentimental about it all. And even though it didn't work out for us, I am not in the least sorry. My heart just fills with joy when I think about the time we spent together as a family. So it's been almost a complete year. We closed on our house in Bowling Green. If you've followed our videos on YouTube, in the Shire Homestead, we closed on our house in Bowling Green, packed up the U-Haul on February 28th. So we're just, a few weeks away from that date. So it's been an entire year of traveling, moving, buying and selling property. Oh my gosh, it's just been like around the world in 70 days type experience. But to recap a little bit of the woods, it was gorgeous. It was beautiful. We underestimated really what it took to be bushcrafters. We thought because we had went into vacant land and built our own house before and built a homestead from scratch, that going into the woods was just going to be a step away from that. Yeah, we had clear land, blah, 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 but there was like so many things. And honestly, people that were experienced as bushcrafters and wilderness living, they warned me that it was going to be more than we thought. And, like some kind of a teenager or something, I didn't take their advice. But we just thought we had it handled. And for the most part, we did. There was a few things that we were not capable of dealing with. Number one, the woods were not virgin timber, but they were really, really thick old trees. And we didn't even realize this when we bought the land, but the woodland had burnt probably, I want to say maybe 10 years prior. It hadn't really damaged. Most of the tall trees were fine. Most of the cedar trees that had been there, you could tell they were like burnt completely down because like cedar really burns hot. But a lot of the older big trees, they were relatively unharmed. It was probably kind of like I'm not an expert in this, but kind of like a flash fire, and most of the stuff lived through it. But there was like tons of across the entire 17 acres. There was like just everywhere you went, there were practically charcoal from trees, smaller trees that had died in the fire. But what that had done, apparently, it had burnt down all of the, like the undergrowth type thing. But literally, you could not take a step anywhere what there wasn't a sapling. The undergrowth, the bush, the saplings growing in between the big trees was thick as hair. You would have to go through with a brush cutter to make a path. We would have to go through with a brush cutter and cut all these little tiny saplings, the size of your thumb or whatever, right down to the ground. And then you were tripping over them all, unless you just got practically underneath the dirt. So we built paths like that, which took literally to get, because we were hiking in, to get from the road, there was two sides that had road, to get from the road into the camp. It probably took us the better part of 2 weeks just surviving and making paths where we could move and clearing enough space just to set up the tent and the space camp, the base camp. It was so labor intensive. And then we were fighting cold and lack of, proper places to sleep, warmth, and so on and so forth. We kept getting so desperate that we would run back to the hotel just to get a shower, wash a few clothes, and get ready to go back. And it was, in one sense, it was a very educational. It probably built a lot of character in us. It built a lot of wisdom and respect for nature. And then in a lot of respects, it was a fiasco. But ultimately, we made it through the cold because we went out there at the very 1st of March, just a few days after the 1st of March, in Kentucky, where some of the worst weather can come. And it was very cold, and we spent part of the time sleeping in the cars. We slept in the tent some. We realized that just wasn't going to work. We were just really, the fiasco part of it is the fact that we were just really totally unprepared for what we were doing. So, but we did our best. But ultimately, the end of that was because the ticks, when it started getting warm, the ticks were so bad. And most of the family they dealt with it fairly well, over a period of, a couple of months after it warmed up. They had, like everybody else got something like 20 ticks on them. I think maybe Scott might have even got 5. The ticks weren't interested in anybody but me. So over a period of a couple of months, I literally had something like 75 tick bites. And Scott and Celeste, Emily, were checking me 2 or 3 times a day. I could go outside for 5 minutes and come back in with 5 ticks. So, but the problem was, when I would get a tick bite, I would have a terrible reaction to it. So it wasn't just like pulling the tick out, throwing a little alcohol on it, and it going away. It would turn into a blister, and then it would turn into a sore, and some of them actually ulcerated, and me doctoring them every day. It was the most horrendous thing. And at one point, I had something like 75 active sores from tick bites. And I then started having a fever and started getting sick. My face just swelled, and I was just like really not in good form. I could tell I was really getting sick. So we kind of got scared, and I went to the emergency room, and they said, yeah, that you got tick fever, but it didn't come out as being like Rocky Mountain tick fever. It didn't come out as being, like Lyme disease. It was like kind of a rarer type fever. So, I ended up staying a few days in a hotel, actually gifted to me by some of my dear friends. and just trying to get over it while I was taking some of the high-powered high-powered hotel. Blah, blah, blah. So I was taking some of these high-powered antibiotics to get over it. I think literally it took me months and months to get over it. And I was so disillusioned by not only the failure that shocked me, the failure we had in the woods, it shocked me. I was also disillusioned by the fact that, I just had such a round with the tick fever. I think ultimately, for a while, we had actually just given up on ever homesteading, because it seemed like with that utter failure that we could never try again. But time heals, and ultimately we are homesteaders. I mean, at the very core of our family, we love nature. We love homesteading. We love, being in touch with the land, being in touch with nature. And we have camped so much. We have lived in tents and shelters and stuff so much. It's just, for some reason, the woods just blew up in our face. So, if you've been following our Facebook page, some of you do, some of you don't, but if you've been following our Facebook page, we've been posting. Now, actually, Scott has been in Alabama for, since October, and he moved there to help his mom and dad, who are a little bit older, and they have got some land and they've got chickens and they like to grow gardens and they like to do some light homesteading. At their age, they haven't been able to do anything super heavy, but they needed help. And so he has been down there and preparing the way. So he has a job and he's done a lot of repairs and been helping them with different things, like the chickens and whatever's been going on. He's built a greenhouse. So we are actually getting ready as a family to move to Alabama. Scott and I lived there when we first got married. That's where we got married. That's where both of our children were born. At that time, my parents lived there as well, and so my daddy is actually buried there. And his parents live there, and we have quite the clan of family that are there. So we are looking forward to it. And it's out in the country, but it's not wilderness living. And naturally, because his parents already live there, we're going to have electric and running water available, and things will be a little bit easier. So, but we're going to build a homestead and a home from scratch. And it should be quite the adventure still, because I'm just a mess here. So, but we are going to go in with tents and kind of do what we did on our original homestead, where we built a tent structure that we lived in all summer long. So we're going to kind of do a repeat of that, and it's probably going to be really, really interesting. So we invite you to go to our Facebook page, the Shire Homestead, and we have a lot of pictures there of our past endeavors, and we invite you, if you haven't already, to like and subscribe to our Shire Homestead YouTube channel. I plan to do updates, every few days until we leave, which will probably be about 3 weeks from now. We have quite the journey because we're in Missouri right now, and we're 800 miles north of where we're going. So, yeah, send up some good thoughts and prayers for us as we endeavor to do this, and hopefully this will be our last move for a very long time. If I'm really, really hoping for our forever home and homestead here. So, I want to catch you up. I want to, just have these little talks with you every few days, to let you know what we're doing and where we're going. And I want to say hi to Idaho Hillbilly and Kitty, which I continue to communicate with because I consider them one of my greatest inspirations. And I love watching their videos, and they're doing their travel videos and everything right now, and they are just such special people. So I want to give a shout out to them and thank them again for all the encouragement that they have given us. They're great people, and if you haven't followed their YouTube channel, you should go to the Idaho Hillbilly and look up their homestead video channel on YouTube and subscribe and like them. So subscribe, like the channel. We love conversation, so if you want to comment on our videos, that's fine. And also hit the bell button, because if you do, so that you'll get notifications. And we're going to keep you informed. And so I will be back in a few days to continue on with our little chats. All right. Bye-bye.